and some mid-evening musings. I'm so happy to be able to do this again and talk about awesome things about what would you like to muse. That means you all let me know about things that you would like to muse. Of course, I can veto it because it is my channel. I want to make sure everything's appropriate or something we can talk about in general with open musings. My rules are we can generally talk about anything, but I will not talk personally about other YouTubers, etc., unless they are here to defend themselves. And even so, no drama. But public figures, yes, they are all fair game. So, what's going on with you today? All of you that are coming in the chat, hello, good to see you. And all of those that will be here on the replay, please leave a comment. Let me know. Also, let me know from where you are listening. There's people from all over the world, and sometimes I'll get analytics about where people are listening from, and I think that's kind of awesome to hear that from everyone. So in any case, yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of things today. I have first of all, I guess I should start off with I was very interested to hear about the new casting of the resurrection of the Christ, not the passion of the Christ, the resurrection of the Christ. Originally, it was going to be the same cast. A lot of them, definitely, it was going to be Jim Caviezel because, of course, we love Jim Caviezel here on Miss Martin Muses, and he did a great job. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here. I have this on my X about this new cast. Now, I think what happened, and it seems pretty clear from everything I've been seeing, that they were going to use, oops. All right, I'll zoom in here. They were going to use de-aging on them, and I think it just turned out it was not going to work out. That's from what I hear. So we have a new Jesus, a new Mary Magdalene, a new Mary, the Mother of God. We have a new Peter, St. Peter. And who's the other dude? I need to look this up. Wait, because this is in Spanish. So let me actually X out of this. All right. So we have Jesus is here, St. Mary Magdalene, Peter, St. Peter, Mary, Mother of God, and Pontius Pilate. Okay. So that is the new cast of the resurrection of the Christ. And this is in, I believe, Spanish. So if anyone can help me out with that, please let me know. But I think it's pretty straightforward, the names. And Sanchin Jose, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correct. He is saying Finnish actor. So it is a Finnish actor who is going to be playing the Lord. It is him. I'm so self-conscious about pronouncing this correctly. Jaakko Oten. I don't know. I'm not saying it right, so I'm just going to stop because I know that anyone that is even close to this language is going to cringe. Has been cast as Jesus in the sequel to The Passion of the Christ, Resurrection, taking over the role from Jim Caviezel. Wait a second. I thought it was called The Resurrection of the Christ. Is this what it's called now? Who knows? It might be changing as we go on. But in any case, here we go. So that is himself. And then Screen Time, I think they were the ones that broke it. Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ sequel has cast Jaakko Otonen and Mariela Garrego as Jesus and St. Mary Magdalene. And Mary Magdalene, The Resurrection of the Christ will be made into 2 movies. Wait, what? The Resurrection of the Christ will be made into 2 movies and is due to premiere in 2027. Everyone is making everything into 2 movies nowadays. We don't all need to be doing that. I mean, the Passion of the Christ, gosh, imagine if they went ahead and had done that with the Passion of the Christ. That would have hurt. That would have been painful. All right, here we go again. So we have, I'll say it again. Radley Jaakko has been cast as Jesus in Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ sequels. Yeah, sequels. They're saying plural. My goodness. So if we want to compare, here is the new casting. And here is Jim Caviezel. Here's Jim Caviezel as Jesus, and here is himself. Yeah, I can see it. And they're going to put him up in all sorts of makeup and stuff. They did that with Jim Caviezel in The Passion of the Christ. So I can see them doing the same thing here. So there we have it. Yeah, that was some news that I was very surprised about. And I didn't lose any sleep over it. I completely understand why. At first, I was very disappointed because Jim Caviezel just was so stunning in that role, but I get it. they must have had some sort of testing where they were looking at it and it looked cringy. It looked so fake that it was to the point that it was going to be distracting. And as good looking and as well aging as Jim Caviezel is, he is 59. Isn't that how old he is? I don't know how old he is. Wait, if he was 33 when The Passion of the Christ came out, and that was about 21 years ago. Yeah, so he's up there in age. So I completely understand what's going on there. So there we have it. So that was number 1 that was on my mind. The another thing that's been on my mind is the new upcoming, The Night of the Seven Kingdoms show, which is based on 3 novellas that George R.R. Martin did. You can't really call them prequels, but they are set, I think, 100 years before Game of Thrones and after the Dance of Dragons, after the House of the Dragon. So it's between House of the Dragon and it is between the Game of Thrones TV show. Now, it is based on the TV show, not the books, because they've pretty much made it clear that there is this, I don't know, ridiculous TV version. And I know that when House of the Dragon came out, a lot of people were thinking, oh, maybe they're going back to putting it just on the source material. And the first one was kind of okay, but we were seeing elements from the TV show. And of course, after season 2, we now know it's definitely going to go in there. So I think it's going to go in there with this. My prediction is the first season is going to be very well done. It's going to seem to be very faithful. And then they're going to go crazy on the second one. But what I wanted us to look at is the hedge knight, because it is based on the book called The Hedge Knight, and the character is a hedge knight. And what is a hedge knight? That is something that I have here. Now, I used a wiki thing, but I chose to copy and paste it so you see the source here, because as usual, they cannot possibly do it so that we can not be doxxed or basically have advertisements just pop up. It's very annoying to me. All right, I'm going to turn this off because it's making that have a little weird shade, and I will be there in the corner. Here I am. Well, let's see. What is a hedge knight? Hedge knights are so named because most of their worldly wealth is in their arms and horses, and they generally must sleep outdoors, often under a hedge. So you are a hedge knight. I think the correct word would be like itinerant in the best sense of the word. You're a traveling person, and this is what you do. And you sleep under a hedge. I think that for that reason, they're often looked down on by the other knights, but they're just as much knightly and they're just as much honorable. So hedge knights are so named. This is what they are, and they tend to sleep under hedge. Contrary to landed knights, so this is a compare and contrast. Landed knights, hedge knights own no land. So a hedge knight won't be a big rich lord. Most hedge knights travel in search of employment and often attend tourneys to earn money and display their prowesses in hopes of being hired and making a name for themselves. So, for lack of a better word, sounds like it is a knight for hire. Yes, it is. So this hedge knight goes around, and so you will find them at tourneys. It's what is it here? Okay, hedge knights often join the hosts of lords and the royal processions of kings. So yay, they get to be in that. Most hedge knights are younger men. Well, that goes without saying, especially if you're going to be sleeping outdoors. Now, the TV show, The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the first season, based on the hedge knight, is going to have a tourney as a central part of it, and it's going to be a tourney where all hell breaks loose. I really like it. It's a really good story. I think it's very odd that of all of the works of George R.R. Martin, the A Song of Ice and Fire is the one that I least like the best. For one thing, as it's unfinished. As long as it's unfinished, it's gonna suck. But definitely, I like the Fire and Blood. I like that fake history book that he has, and I like the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the 3 books. So good times. All right. Although many hedge knights strive to be chivalrous, true knights, hedge knights are often mistrusted and considered disreputable. How dare they? The term hedge knight is considered disparaging. Yeah. It's like, yeah, jerks. Some warriors can be described as unjumped hedge knights. Unjumped hedge knights. Less scrupulous hedge knights put their martial training to use by resorting to banditry, becoming robber knights. Wow. See, who knew that it could be so much fun? So you have like, the landed knights, the big fancy ones. You have the hedge knight, which is the hero of the upcoming TV show and of the three books. And then you have the robber knights. Well, glad to see that. And so now that we know what a hedge knight is, maybe you can, maybe this will help you prepare for the TV show if you are planning to watch it. And again, this is open musings about what would you like to muse. So I'm going to go ahead and unshare this screen. Stop the screen. Okay, now right now I am having pumpkin tea. I have talked about the virtues of drinking tea that is good for you, and it is afternoon tea because you need to stop. You need to stop. You need to smell the roses, and you need to have a moment for yourself. It used to really be a thing in the 19th century and even in the 20th century. And even today, you can go and have like a fancy high tea, and it's really nice. It's really social. It's really fun. Now, if you are thinking to yourself, I don't do high tea, I don't do tea parties, that's what chicks do. Well, but maybe do something else. I know that mid afternoon, you don't necessarily want to have a drink. But then again, hey, 5 o'clock somewhere, if that's what you want to do, a drink, Coke, sit outside. I recommend sitting outside, but most importantly, not just having high tea. Tea, I think, is great. You can have a little bit of a snack. Uh, with the girly stuff, you can have scones, you can have clotted cream, you can have all those good things. But I would also recommend just having quiet time, having moments to yourself, whether it's meditation, whether it's just getting out in nature, maybe it's going for a long walk. I think those things are good for people. And I think that we have forgotten that. You need to take that time to spend by yourself and maybe not go crazy because the world is crazy. Another thing that I've been recommending, and if you've been watching a lot of the content on my channel, is read a book. Read a book, and read a book that you can hold with your hand. I know that it's possible, and many people find it very convenient to read with Kindles or other kind of electronic things. But in general, we are looking at screens too much. And there's something about holding a book in your hand and sitting down and reading it that's really good. Of course, I am a big fantasy fan. Right now, I'm reading the Wheel of Time series, which is so much fun. And I'm on book 13, and I can't believe it's almost going to be over. But when I start off my day like that, my day starts off really nicely. Now, this morning I wasn't able to because I got up and I went to work very early. So I just got up and had a cup of coffee, had what the cat sitting on my lap disturbing everything, and then went off to do what I had to do. But I'm going to be doing that mid-evening or a little bit afterwards. Now, speaking of which, I think I said the tea, but I forgot to say what kind of tea I'm drinking. I'm drinking pumpkin pie spiced tea, and I'm not sure I like it. But it is autumn, it is fall, so you should do it. This is the last packet I have of this. This came with a variety thing. But yeah, I think this might be the end of it. I'm not so into it. About what would you like to muse? Everyone coming in, please let yourself be known and let me know about things that you would like to muse and that you have on your mind. So now that I've talked about tea, I've talked about reading a book. Oh, definitely, you should watch movies. Old movies are something else. I watched for my challenge this year. I always give myself a theme. This year it is ghosts. So all the things that I do with my movies that have to do with Halloween are ghost themes. Now, not all ghost movies are scary. Some of them are really happy. Like I just watched The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, which is an old movie, a romance. Believe it or not, it's the best kind of romance. It's not like a Twilight kind of a situation. And it has Rex Harrison as its star. I forget the name of the other chick. Great movie, old movie. Old movies are great. Watch westerns, watch old westerns. Hell, watch new westerns. From what I've been able to tell, westerns have not really been, how do I say this? They haven't been ruined. Any of the new westerns are not horrible. Does Yellowstone count as a western? I do not know. But in any case, and Western seems to be untouched. I mean, it's really hard to mess with a Western. If you're going to go ahead and do it, you're going to just lay it out and do it the way it's supposed to be done. Um, for me, the holy grail, if you will, of Westerns is Lonesome Dove. I can't imagine the way everyone felt when Lonesome Dove came onto the world. I was too young. I remember Lonesome Dove, the miniseries. I was in middle school. I didn't watch it. I watched War and Remembrance because I was more into history, and I remember there being a controversy because War and Remembrance won the Emmy for best miniseries, and people say that even though it was really epic and it was really big in scope, that the higher quality one was Lonesome Dove. I watched Lonesome Dove for the first time when I was in college. A friend of mine was like, "Oh my gosh, you've got to watch it," and then I'm like, "Holy crud, this is amazing!" Then I read the book. Lonesome Dove is, in my humble opinion, the best Western ever written. But there's other good Westerns. I've been wanting to get into Louis L'Amour because well, what can I say? He is one that wrote very short Westerns, but I mean, just a ton of them. And just seems to me that everyone likes them. And if I'm correct, let me see something here. One of his books named Flint is going to be made into a movie. Let me look this up. I just Googled Flint, and of course, a bunch of rocks showed up. Let me see. And I heard it was Josh Holloway. Let me see. You know, Josh Holloway, he is the man who played Sawyer on, oh boy, he played Sawyer on Lost, and he was so hot. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here it is. Let's see. This is from Deadline, and sure enough, of course, all they do is show me ads. So I'm just going to read this. It says here, Josh Holloway to star in Western film based on Louis L'Amour novel. Now, I know that Louis L'Amour, or is it Louis L'Amour? Because I know in America we pronounce everything wrong. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Ahead of his new Max series, Dusters, May premiere. Oh, well, darn it. I'm going to have to look at that. Josh Holloway has inked a deal to star in Flint, an adaptation of the Western novel by Louis L'Amour, which is due to begin production in New Mexico later this year. Written, directed by Ryan. Oh, why? See, this is why I don't want to show it, because it's popping up all sorts of things that's messing with me reading this. Written and to be directed by Ryan Whitaker, the film has Holloway taking on the lead role of James Kettleman, a ruthless East Coast businessman who, in returning to the unforgiving New Mexico frontier, adopts the name Flint, which belonged to the notorious killer who raised him. Dun, dun, dun. As he becomes entangled in a violent range war, of course, because it's a Western. His encounters with a strong-willed rancher, Nancy Kennigan, challenge him to reconsider the legacy he wants to leave behind. Makes him reconsider the legacy he wants to leave behind. I bet you it's going to be a romance. So I am going to read that book and then watch the show. Well, it is Anti-Derivative Jill. Hello, Anti-Derivative Jill. This is Open Musings. It is Open Musings. So let us know about what you would like to muse. I've already mused on the new cast of The Resurrection of the Christ. I mused on what a hedge knight is, coming up with the Knights of the Seven Kingdom. And then I just mused on Josh Holloway in the new oh boy, in the new Western Flint that's going to be filming. I love this man so much. He is so good looking, and he seems like a pretty nice guy. I mean, has anyone heard anything bad about him? And anyone watching this or watching on the replay, I'll give Anti-Derivative Jill a watch. She does a lot of Star Trek content. You know what? I need to go back and watch DS9. It's been a really long time, and I watched the Star Trek The Next Generation multiple times, but for some reason I only really watched DS9 once. I remember being very annoyed because I didn't like how Dax and Worf got together. I mean, sometimes it can be something as small, and I know that's petty, but I did not like that one little bit. So I quit watching because I'm like, yeah, I don't like that. I never really liked that character, the girl, or the not girl, because it depended on the body that the Trill would be going into. But everyone says that at the end of the day, it's probably one of the best Treks that there is. Of course, I'm still an original Trek person, and I always will be, because I love it more than life itself, and it's the one that started it. It's just classic. I mean, nothing will ever take over from what we know of the original series. Kirk, his sayings, how many times do we know I cannot change the laws of physics? How many times do we say that? I'm going to say I'm a doctor, not a this. I say that all the time. And just Captain Kirk is so iconic. And I know it's such a cliche, but my favorite Star Trek episode is The City on the Edge of Forever. I just love it. I think it's so good. And also the one with, I forget what it's called, the one with the Romulan, where doing this cat and mouse thing, but the Romulans are what I was going to say that the Romulans are cloaked the whole time, and they didn't even know what Romulans looked like. And then it got controversial because when you finally saw the Romulan, it was like, oh my gosh, it looks like a Vulcan, and everyone's like, dude. All right, Antiderivative Jill says, thank you. Yes, I love sci-fi, especially Trek. You aren't completely wrong. Dax and Worf can be a little toxic sometimes. Darn right. Uh-huh. And Antiderivative also says TOS is always the best. It will be. Hello, Seekers Phil. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Hey, OG Trekkie. Parkinson's meds are helping today. Glad their streamers listen to. Oh, well, that's so good to hear. And I'm glad I'm here to maybe help you out with that. I mean, for crying out loud. Don't we also need to help each other out? Eh, life is rough sometimes, and if this is helping, then I'm happy to hear that. And I'm sorry to hear that you're suffering from Parkinson's, but I'm also glad that you're having meds. I have a close family member that's going through chemo right now, and it's rough. I know it's rough out there. A lot of us are sick. A lot of us are going through our own personal crosses, but we can help each other through it. Let's see. Balance of Terror is fantastic. Is that the name of the episode? Interderivative. Thank you. Both of your TOSs are in my top 5. Yeah, well, there we go. And I just love them. I would be a liar, though, if I were to say that I am an expert on Star Trek. I'm beyond a normie, but for example, I didn't know off the top of my head the name of those specific episodes. Now, my parents, they are original Trekkies, back when they used to use that. They were in college when it came out, and my mom would tell me about how they would have like one TV that you could watch down in a lounge, and she'd gather around and watch it. And that was how she watched the original Star Trek. And I think that's so cool. She's still a fan, obviously. She still will not call William Shatner. She'll say, Jim did this, Jim did that. And of course, nobody is as good as Jim for her. We love the captain. And I can't believe it. Isn't he going to be 95? Unbelievable. And my dad doesn't like to go see movies, but whenever the original Star Trek movies would come out, he would go see those in the cinema. But wow. Yeah, so yeah, we all love Star Trek here. And Next Generation, that was on when I was in college. And I had just a lot of fun watching that also with a group. That's actually how I got one of my roommates at college, because we would be watching it in the lounge, because pretty much TVs were, yeah, you just didn't have one. If you had one in your room, it didn't really work very well until we got cable up there eventually. So that was how we met, watching Next Generation. And Next Generation really has some truly great stuff as well. And I talked about DS9, and Enterprise had its moments. I think that some of the things that detracted from Enterprise first season, I didn't like the way they had the Vulcans. They were giving them emotions and all that, and I didn't understand why they did that. And I was a little annoyed by who's the name of the character? The Vulcan there, just the way she dressed and all that. I'm like, come on. And I'm not sure a Vulcan would do that. There was a whole 7 of 9 thing going on, but I did learn to appreciate it. And of course, once we saw what they did with the later Trek, with whatever that was, I don't even remember what they even called it. It was so terrible, with Mikey, Spock, and all those weird ones that even my mom couldn't watch it. She's like, nah, this isn't Trek. So when you look back on it, it's like, hey, Enterprise wasn't so bad. Voyager, I loved Voyager. I thought Voyager was great. I really did enjoy it. And of course, like a lot of them, they really came into their own. I remember this controversy about 7 of 9 a bit, because people felt like she kind of overshadowed everything. I know that there was tension with the star. I met her. I can see her being a bit of a diva. To Paul, thank you, Antiderivative Jill. Yes. And then Shatner doesn't look his age, unlike Patty Stew. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He doesn't. I mean, he's almost like he's de-aging. I mean, the dude went into space, for crying out loud. For crying out loud at his age. Just the fact that he was able to climb all the way up there and take off his shoes the way he did. I remember thinking, dang, for an old dude, man, he's in good shape. Antiderivative Jill says, post 2005 is New Trek or No Trek or The Filth. I love it. I like No Trek. Isn't it awful or probably good that I can't even remember the name of that dreadful, dreadful one? I I blocked it out of my mind. I finally did it. It's like, "No, I don't like you. You suck, and I don't need to have you in my life. Thank you very much." All of that trying to destroy our franchise is just so ridiculous. I mean, are they gonna keep this up? I know that there's some thinking that, well, maybe they're gonna start turning it around because 'cause they're starting to see some of the backlash, but then you see some other things that are coming up. Well, like, look what they did with The Witcher. On the other hand, maybe they were already deep into The Witcher. Maybe the canceling of the Wheel of Time is gonna change things. I mean, that was first of all, that was pure justice. Yay. It wasn't successful. I mean, to take a story like that, again, I'm not finished, but just for fun, I just decided to look at some of the summaries like from season 1. And I'm like, this is not even Wheel of Time. This isn't even really the story. It's kind of the story, but it's not. And then I heard some other variations that they did. And I'm like, why? I mean, you could have printed money if they'd have just done a faithful adaptation of the Wheel of Time. Everyone would have been watching it. It would have been like Game of Thrones. You know how they always say we want our Game of Thrones. Well, guess what? You know how you do your Game of Thrones is that you actually adapt it. And that's what made Game of Thrones so successful. Like, imagine if those 2 idiots, if they had decided not to adapt the Game of Thrones. We saw what happened, that once they abandoned the source material in season 5, then it all went to hell in a handbasket, that they really weren't able to do that. When they were just doing direct adaptation, they did a very good job. So, just adapt it what you have, because, we would love to see it. I mean, when I've been reading some of these scenes from the Wheel of Time, getting up to the big climaxing, we all know it's gonna happen at Tarmageddon, and I'm thinking, "Darn it, I would love to have seen this properly on the screen," but they messed it up because they suck, and they spend all that money too, not to mention what they've done with the Rings of Prime, the Rings of Power. Oh my gosh. Spending all that money for what? For nothing. What did they get? Absolutely nothing. And I know that they don't have the rights to do the proper story that Tolkien wrote, so why do it? Why do it? I mean, if I'd have gone to them and said, "Hey, I wanna do the story of, what we see in the Silmarillion story and, the stories of the second age that are in the book called the Silmarillion that you get when you buy it." And they go, "Nope, you don't have the rights to it, but you can have the names, you can have this, that." And they went, "Okay, I'll spend like a gazillion dollars on this." I would be like, I would really like to do this, but I don't think that this is going to work out, is it? Because if you don't really have the story that Tolkien wrote, I just not going to. But instead, because is my assertion that they do not understand fantasy. Instead, they just thought, well, fantasy is just like elves and stuff, and we just give the name Galadriel and stuff, and then people are gonna watch it, and aren't they gonna go, yay? It's like, no, we're not, because it's like fantasy is actually a high form of literature. I know there's a lot of snobs out there that don't think it is. This became a big issue when Lord of the Rings was with the book of the century, and Tolkien was the author of the century. Tom Shippey defends it. I defend it. I stand by it. Tolkien rules the world. I mean, there it was. You had it, and they just completely thought that they could do better, or thought worse. Well, it's just names. It's just elves. It's just dragons. Well, and even though even really dragons I mean, oh my gosh, I just don't even want to think about it. The arrogance of it. And then they tried to shame Tolkien fans. And it's like, you can't be doing that. It's just ridiculous. Hello, everyone coming in. Make yourself known, or make yourself known in the comments after the chat about what would you like to muse. This is open musing. So I'm obviously musing about a lot of things that this is making me think about, because of how they destroyed Star Trek, and they did the same with the Wheel of Time, and then they did the thing with the Rings of Prime. Then that what right of the Rohirrim? Not the right. I don't even know. I've already blocked it out. The cartoon. They were going to do the story of I forget the name of the character that they were supposed to be doing. All I know is that they decided to do the chick. It's like, okay, who was only just not only not had a name, but she just was kind of there for a little bit. And they made it all about a girl that wasn't even in the story. Again, all you had to do was adapt it. I mean, I would have gone to see that cartoon. if that were the case. But, forget it. What they call her? Hera, something? Like a Greek name? I forget where they came from the name. I know they pulled some stuff out of their butts, and I'm just like, okay, fine, whatever, you suck. Could have been printing money if they had properly adapted it. Now, we all know that there are guidelines that they say that women have to have this kind of sort of role. You have to this many representation. So maybe that's why they did it. On the other hand, it sucked. Knock it off. Just tell the story and it'll be fine. What they need to do is they need to accept, listen, if you are doing a fantasy story or if you're doing a historical story, that it is what it is. And you just got to leave it at that. If you're doing a story set in modern day, like New York City, modern day London, or modern day a lot of places, okay, you're going to see that kind of quote unquote diversity. I'm watching a show right now called Watson, a little bit derivative from House and some other ideas from the Sherlock show, but hey, I like it. I decided to watch it because they brought in Robert Carlyle to play Sherlock. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to watch this because Robert Carlyle is the man. He is the man. Oh, before I go on and on about Robert Carlyle and Watson, Antiderivative Jill says, I didn't make it past episode 2 of season 1 of The Rings of Power. Yeah, I mean, I kind of went back and watched it. I didn't watch it at first because I was like, oh gosh, this is going to ruin it for me. And then it was so far from what it was supposed to be, I went ahead and did it. But my gosh, was it boring? I mean, it's just boring. That's all I can say about it. And when I decided to go ahead and watch it, I ended up having to just do it like while I was on the treadmill and stuff because then watching it with subtitles because I just couldn't stand it. And yes, Begbie, yes, Robert Carlyle, the man. Hello, not Brian. Thank you for being here. We love him so much. Antiderivative Jill said, I heard the movie was okay, but I never saw it. I learned it was just a placeholder for keeping the rights. Yeah, and I think that that's what they did. Yeah, but once more, they didn't have the story. The hammer hand or whatever. That was what the story was all about. There was some really good stuff, but they had to throw in some weird girl story. Everyone's saying not hi to not Brian. I mean, hi to not Brian. Yes, we love Begbie here. That man, Robert Carlyle, first of all, I will never say anything bad about him. I have definitely had some interaction. This man is the real deal. And he loves his fans. He really appreciates his fans. I just can't say enough good things about Robert Carlyle, but he's also such a good actor. The Once Upon a Time, that was how I, had whatever. I used to be with a fan site associated with it. I mean, associated with the show, not formally associated with the show, but that's a long story that I don't talk about because guess what? When you have real sources, you don't talk about it. That's how you know someone does not have sources if they talk about it. But in any case, yes, amazing performances in Once Upon a Time, amazing performance in Train Spotting. I love him. I mean, even the role that he played when he was in 24, that TV movie that they did, that was so good. Everyone's saying hello to each other. We love each other here on Miss Martin Muses. He was great in that. He was great in, what was the movie that he was in? Where he was a cannibal. That was great. I mean, this man doesn't do a bad performance. So yes, he shows up on the second season of Watson as Sherlock, and sure enough, stole the entire episode. Though the main actor, he's the guy from the Boys in the Hood. He was good. He was good. He held his own, and they did a good job of balancing it. I think maybe so that he wouldn't steal the entire episode. But yes, Watson is derivative. But I was able to get over it. First of all, my mom liked it, and I'm enjoying it for what it is. It's fan fiction, and they're not even trying, obviously, to be faithful to the story because it's set in Pittsburgh, modern day. However, what you see in this modern day Pittsburgh, yes, there is quote unquote diversity. So, yes, Watson is black. Now, a lot of people can go, oh, you're making it, well, Watson is black. Now, it would be a real problem if they had him be black if they were doing it set in the 19th century. It's like, okay, that's a problem. I mean, you have to be true to the history and stuff. But I can forgive in modern day when they do something like that. And we know that they were checking a box because we know that the studios have to do those kind of things. But if it's set in modern day, Pittsburgh, for crying out loud. Okay, that is what you are going to see. And you are going to see a lesbian, or you're going to see, people, you're going to see Asian doctors. Okay, it's a thing. So if you're going to have that kind, I understand putting it into a modern story. I've talked the same thing about Manifest. The characters are set in New York City, for crying out loud. It's natural. You're going to see that kind of diversity. You're going to see it in most places nowadays, and depending on the geographic area. But if you're talking about 15th century Norway, I'm sorry, I think we know what they're going to look like. All right? It's not a mystery. It's not a mystery. That's what they're going to look like. And if you are minding your own business and you're J.R.R. Tolkien and you have a story about a certain character, that's the story that you should tell. You don't say, well, I'd rather tell the story about Hera, who doesn't exist. Or she exists. Well, the name doesn't exist, but the daughter. Okay, we'll do it all about her. And I'm like, okay, but why? Just don't. Who was it? It was the guy who played Hannibal. Middleton Nichols. I don't know how to pronounce him, but he played in the Hannibal TV show. They did ask them about it because I guess they were doing a 15th century, 16th century Scandinavian thing. And they tried to ask them about why isn't there more diversity. And in that case, they kind of started to laugh at them. So I think that there's being a bit of backlash. On the other hand, they're doing a new Amadeus movie. Why? I don't know. I mean, why on earth would you need to do a new Amadeus movie? The movie was perfection. It won Best Picture. It was great. Now, it is kind of fanficky. All right. It kind of has some elements of Mozart's life, but a lot of it was absurd. There wasn't the problem with Salieri and Mozart that we can tell beyond the normal kind of the way all composers looked at each other. But what I love about it is it really showcases Mozart's music, and it made it very popular again because I think it's good for you to listen to classical music. I say, if you really want to feel good about yourself and humanity, especially go see it live. It will be transformative. It helps if you're a little bit prepared. And I always say for people, especially if you don't necessarily like classical music, choose something that's famous, like Beethoven's Fifth, to go see live, and that will help you. But that's what the movie Amadeus did, and that's why I can forgive them for some of their very, very questionable things, and especially Salieri. I mean, if Salieri were live today, he could sue for libel, slander. He could sue for everything. He would own the studio because none of that was really true about him. However, with this new movie, hey, here's Mozart. And let me just put it to you this way, Mozart does not look like Mozart. And I'm like, why? If you're doing a story about Mozart, a real man, you got to do the way he looked. I mean, it would be as absurd as like getting his hair color wrong or something. But yes, Mozart was not the race that they are having the Mozart being. It's annoying. Especially with historical figures, I feel very strongly that you need to be accurate to them. And also, when you mess with diversity, I think that you are cheapening the real struggles of the past that were going on. And it's the same thing I feel about when they try to do a lot of things with women back then. It's like, listen, that's not the way it was for women. All right. Actually, it kind of sucked for women. It really did. So you're in a way cheapening the real progress that has happened. Unfortunately, of the because of the way that the new feminism has been, we tend to forget, feminism wasn't really the original feminism wasn't really a bad thing. Okay. I mean, there were definitely things that were unjust and that we did need to overcome, things that were ridiculous. Maybe that we can see the kind of things. Well, what happens when a woman isn't very free? And I won't say where we're seeing it and from whom we're seeing it from, but you all know what I'm talking about. And Interderivative Jill says, quite the understatement. Yes, there it is. Yeah. Yes. Oh my goodness. Isn't it something? But yeah, you're cheapening it. Who's that? Philippa Gregory. Anything that Philippa Gregory does is trash. absolute trash. Now, I forgave her a little bit for the White Queen. Now, I watched the miniseries, I didn't read the book, or I read part of the book. The book's ridiculous. Uh, there was a lot of silliness in The White Queen, but it actually didn't do a bad job of showing the story of the War of the Roses. Of course, it really did dirty on Margaret Beaufort. That was slander. But for the most part, if you want to get an idea of the War of the Roses, it's really the only miniseries I can think of off the top of my head that it pretty much gets the story right. But man, the White Princess, oh boy, was that awful. And then what they did with Catherine of Aragon and Thomas More, I was just like, what am I watching? Trash, absolute trash. If you're doing real people, I think you should do the best that you can. Otherwise, don't do real people. Make up your own story. Make up your own, hey, we're in a random alternate universe thing that kind of looks like England, kind of like what Bridgerton does. See, the reason why I don't get mad at Bridgerton is Bridgerton, at least the TV show, is an alternate universe. So it's like, okay, it's an alternate universe. I'll live with that. Now, what we're seeing with the new adaptations, like for Pride and Prejudice, it's like, oh, that's a problem. Unless they're trying to say it's alternate universe Pride and Prejudice, which somehow I don't think they are doing with that. It's like, really, it's going to take me out of it. I'll watch it maybe, but I already I can tell, okay, I'm not going to be enjoying this because this just isn't the universe that we're looking at. And once again, I believe it is a actually disservice for injustices of the past. We need to show things the way they were. The Persuasion one, for more reasons than I can enumerate, was terrible, but they also were guilty of that. And Jill says, well, and if you don't do that, and if you do that, you have to make everyone Japanese, like Hamilton or the Wiz. Yes, I was about ready to say, see, that makes sense. Like, we knew what the Wiz was doing something very specific. For one thing, okay, it was called the Wiz. All right. So we know what's going on. Yes. If you're going to do that, that's part of it. And the same thing with Hamilton, doing all of them. So obviously they're making some sort of a point. Yes. But if they just randomly have it like, hey, here's this Asian dude and this black man and this white guy socializing together in England. And now sometimes they would really pull it out of their butt, these individuals will, who try to defend it. And they're like, well, there was this one person at this one time. Here, look, they were doing it. And it's like, yes, that one person at that one time who might have been like a prince or was a lord or something, or came from this really, really rich plantation in the West Indies, which is problematic in of itself. It's like, okay, maybe that one person. Or they'll find like one person described in Scandinavia that was dark skinned, and they're like, so therefore we can do this. And it's like, no. As a woman, I'm insulted by it. I am a white woman, but I am a woman. It's like, come on. So things like what they did with, what was it called? What did they call the War of the Rohirrim? That's what they called that cartoon. I mean, I'm insulted by it. It's like, as a pasty white, clear white woman of Scandinavian ancestry, that insults me. Knock it off. Knock it off. And yeah, that is a very, very good point, because I have heard some whataboutism about the Wiz, and it's like, yes. I mean, look at what they're doing. Look at the context. But we all know that for these things, like for example, for Amadeus, we know that it's not like we don't have people that are capable of doing it. It's not like they were like, oh my gosh, we looked and we looked and we looked and we couldn't find a white actor to play Mozart. No. And it's the same absurdity if they did the race swapping the other way, which they don't do anymore, or they don't do anymore. Yes, okay, there was a history of that where they would have white people put on like Asian makeup, and yeah, it was offensive and all that, but that was another time. All right, this is the present time. We've moved beyond that. And it's like saying, if it's absurd though. It's like, well, we couldn't find a black man to, play in Hamilton, for example, even though I know that's not, that is not a perfect analogy, but with the actors that we have out there, we can find them. I promise you. They're there. They are there. It is a choice that they are making, and I think that it's unfortunately gonna ruin it. Because even though I did say, "Why are you doing a new Amadeus? Why do you do this? Is there a reason for this? It was perfect." On the other hand, I probably would have still watched it because I do enjoy Amadeus. I enjoy Amadeus because I enjoy Mozart's music so much. But now I don't think I'm gonna watch it. I mean, what's the point? What are y'all doing? And ah, classical music is so good. All right, here I am with my tea, and oh, we're coming down. We're going to wind down with these musings. So I want to let me see. Oh, I am going to be having wait. I didn't mean to do that. Why did I press that? Okay, I hope everything's good. Sometimes if you press a button, and then it came up with all sorts of things, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I didn't. All right. Interderivative Jill says, yes, imagine you're making a movie about Shigeru Miyamoto and casting a ginger Irish person and pretending that's correct. Yeah, very good point. Excellent point. Oof. Yeah, why do they? All right. So here's what's going to happen. I am going to be having a stream on Thursday for sure. It is about ghost stories, real ghost stories. So if you have any stories about real or imagined or otherwise, it doesn't have to be something you have allegedly experienced. Um, Me and Maury, she is of the Triple Review fame, and she was on some of my Once Upon a Time streams. We're going to be talking about that. So I think that it'll be fun. You can bring your stories also to share in the chat. I have a few things to go. That's going to be on Thursday afternoon. Let's see, a mid-afternoon musing. What is it? It's going to be about 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern. That is the plan. So yay. And you can watch that, and definitely watch that on the replay if you can't make it, because it's good, it's fun, and everyone should share a spooky story. Let me see. We have okay. Oh, we have a super sticker. We have a super sticker, Precious. It is from Anti-Derivative Jill. Jill has given us or me rather, I'm not multiple personalities, a $1.50 49 super sticker, and it is a rose. Thank you so much, Anti-Derivative Jill. Everyone subscribe to her. Oh, and look at the ghosts here. So you, Madame, you get a rose. Thank you very much. And I'm going to put here in the chat, I want to send you all over at 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on where you are, to Jacob Ironside. He is going to be doing a popcorn talk about Predator, which I recently watched for the first time. Predator, a lot of fun. So maybe go over there, give him a like, share, to subscribe, and let him know that I sent him over there. Let's have a rose raid. I want to thank everyone that's been watching. I've been seeing you all coming in and out. I appreciate you. Thank you, Anti-Derivative Jill, and thank you especially for the rose and the $1.49 super sticker. Yes, it is a great movie, Anti-Derivative Jill. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Not Brian, for being here. He loves Robert Carlyle as much as I do. We had Snicker Phil. Thank you for being here. And thank you for chiming in and letting us know how this is helping you out. We love it. See you later. Yes, thank you. Everyone, subscribe to everyone here. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to live a fulfilled life. Don't let the bastards get you down, and read lots and lots of books.